It's Diana from Diana Marie Home. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to share about my seed starting setup. So I am in a room today that I never would have thought I would have shared, especially in this condition, on any of my social media channels. But I am for a very important reason, and that's because this is where my seed starting setup is. And if you've followed along, you know that I love gardening. Last year, I tried starting seeds inside, and I didn't have the proper setup, and so they got really unhealthy, leggy because they didn't have enough light, and a lot of them really didn't thrive when they got out to the garden, if they made it at all, because they didn't have the proper growing conditions in the beginning. So this year I did a lot of research and I invested in the setup you see behind me. And I wanted to share it with you because so far I'm so happy with it, and I have high hopes that I'm just going to have such better luck and more abundance in my garden this year because of the upfront investment that I'll be able to use year after year to start my seedlings. So you might be wondering, why would you take up this much room in your home to start your own seeds when you can just buy them from the store? And that is a great question, and honestly probably what I thought too before I learned about heirloom seeds. So last year, because of the pandemic and closures, I found myself really looking forward to gardening more than I had any year prior. I've always loved gardening. My mom actually just brought me this picture from when I was 1 year old of gardening. I thought that was so cute. So I've always loved to garden and help garden, and have always at least had a small garden of some sorts, and it's just always, you know, been the seeds that you buy at your garden center or starts that you find at the market or greenhouse, and you know, those are great, and I, you know, definitely, if that's the only way to garden, definitely do that. But last year when I had more time, I started watching YouTube videos and I learned about this whole world of heirloom seeds, and my mind was blown, and gardening just took on this whole new level of interest for me. And the idea that I could not only grow you know, a red beefsteak tomato, but like a purple beefsteak tomato, or a huge 1 to 2 pound yellow tomato that tasted different than a red tomato, I was so intrigued. Unfortunately, I found out about that kind of stuff after it was too late for me to start those things for last year's season, but I did get to start some cool things like dragon tongue beans. They are a green bean with like a light yellowish green bean with purple stripes. It reminds me of a zebra, and they had the sweetest flavor to them. So I got to try out some cool things. I'm totally hooked. So anyways, that's why I find this setup so worth it, because this year I have so many different varieties, and I'm actually, I just filmed a video about how I'm organizing my seeds and seeds that I plan on growing this year. So look for that. That should be out around the same time as this video. But I wanted to share this because this is an important part of being able to grow those different varieties of tomatoes and pepper plants, especially because those in my zone, I'm zone 6A in upstate New York, those plants have to be started early, and I have not found a greenhouse or nursery near me that carry all of those different varieties of seeds that I'm able to find online and grow myself. So that is kind of my reason behind doing this whole setup. Now, this room one day will be renovated and a living space, so this is not its permanent setup. I took advantage of this workroom this year to have it up in the house, but eventually this whole setup will move to our farmhouse basement, and we'll, you know, I'll be doing all this down there. So I thought I would just kind of take you through and show you what this setup is. It's not something, I didn't buy this setup as one piece. I pieced it together And so I'm gonna share all of the pieces that make this up, and then I'll also have all the links in the description if this is something that you're interested in doing yourself, just to save you some time, and so you can benefit from the research that I did and what I ultimately ended up purchasing. It is a little tricky to see because it is located right in front of a window just for added light, but this is a 5-tiered shelf. I believe I purchased this one from Home Depot, but again, I'll have the links down below. And I actually got this idea from a Facebook group that I follow, a gardening Facebook group, and I just thought it was genius, so I tried to recreate it. Now, what's different about this shelf is that it is, I believe, 24 inches. The depth of it is 24 inches, which is big enough for these plant trays to sit like this, so you can actually fit, you can see down here, I can fit 4 plant trays on one shelf compared to just 2 that you would be able to fit if the shelves weren't as deep. So that was a huge reason for me to look for that wider shelf. Being metal, it's also very sturdy. This is a very heavy duty shelf that is more than enough to hold all of these plants. So I'm super happy with that. And then the other thing that was really necessary for this setup were, I want to say grow lights, but I did not buy what was marketed as grow lights. I bought LED lights that met the requirements to grow seeds indoors. So these lights are extremely affordable. I got 8 of them for right around $50 at the time that I bought them. Again, the links will be in the description. And they all connect together. That's what you can see, these cords here. So I am able to connect them all with one switch, turn all of them on, or I can disconnect them, which is what I have right now because I don't need them all on. I disconnected this one so that when I turn the lights on, only that bottom tier goes on. So I can control very easily how many layers of lights get turned on. And I have 2 per shelf. And something, I wanted to be able to adjust the height that they are above the plants. You can see these ones are all the way up because I just have some hardwood cuttings here. But on my onion seeds on the bottom, the lights are just above them. And I actually used some fishing string and clips. Let me see how I can get a good right here. So you can see the fishing string is just tied on the LED light, and then I have a paper clip up here pinching it. So I'm able to undo that clip and pull the string to adjust the height. I'm still considering other ways to do this, but this method is what I thought of right away and supplies that I had on hand, and it works. So I'm open to suggestions on what else to do. I was thinking of buying some chain and using some, I think it's E600 glue to glue a chain to the LED, and then kind of a similar concept, a hook up top, and then I could just adjust the chain that way. So eventually I'll do something like that, but that's just a super temporary and easy solution to be able to adjust those lights. The other part of this setup is having a heat mat, and so for seeds, for a lot of seeds to germinate, they need a heat mat, and that will speed the process up as well. And so I found these heat mats on Amazon that cover the exact surface area of the shelves. So I'm able to fit the 4 trays on one heat mat, and that's worked really well. So I'll link those. And then these trays, so I have the 72 seedling trays, and then they're in a bottom tray that does not have holes in it. And this allows me to bottom water, which means that I can fill the bottom tray up with water, which will encourage the roots to grow down as opposed to watering them from the top every time. The other thing you're really going to need to know about is soil when you're starting seeds. And so I have some of this Organics Miracle-Gro container mix that I used for my onions, and you can see they all came up. They actually started coming up after only a couple days of planting, so I am happy with that. I later learned that you can plant onions a lot closer together than I did. So next year I'll be trying that, but I have been happy with this soil. But then this soil, Fox Farm, this is like this is a good soil, and I am saving this for my tomatoes and peppers and those plants that are going to be, you know, not trickier necessarily, but need more from the soil. So I'm saving this for those plants. And you can also see I have a lettuce mix growing back there, and that was just some of that Miracle-Gro organic soil again. I later found out though that if you're planting lettuce, it really likes loose soil, so I wish I mixed some perlite in that. But that's the fun part about gardening, is just, oh no, learning as you go and making improvements along the way. This is my new garden buddy, Molly. She hangs out in here with me, and for the most part she does really well, but we have a few hiccups. And then yeah, these are just kind of off topic, but some hardwood cuttings that I took. We have 2 flats, more than 50 cuttings of Concord grape from my brother-in-law's grapevine that we are trying to root. We really want to have like a little vineyard on our property somewhere. And then over here I have some Annabelle hydrangeas for Cynthia, some evergreen, boxwoods, and another variety of shrub, evergreen shrub, and lilac cuttings as well back there. So just kind of experimenting with that. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn about my seed starting setup today and hanging out with me in my workroom. I really enjoyed sharing this with you, and I hope that you found it helpful if you're interested in starting your own seeds, or just, you know, learning about the best way to start seeds at home and what they need. So if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments, but also be sure to check the description box for the links of what I shared today. And if you don't already, be sure to follow me on Instagram, Diana Marie Home. I share more day-to-day things. As I start planting more seeds here, I'll definitely be sharing more in stories on Instagram. And then you can also follow along on my blog, dianamariehome.com, and I'm always sharing a lot of information about our farmhouse and farm life there, and gardening on my blog as well. Thank you again, and I will see you on my next video.